everyone, welcome back to Fembot IT. My name is Julie and today we're doing a tutorial on AWS IAM, Identity Access and Management. IAM provides identity management by allowing you to create entities inside AWS, users, groups, and roles, and then controls that access with permission policies. Let's get into the console and check out AWS IAM in action.
Okay, so we are in the AWS console. And one thing that you need to realize is when you log into AWS, you're using IAM to authenticate yourself. And there are two ways to authenticate yourself, and it uses long-term credentials. The first is what we're doing now. We've logged into the console using a username and password. And the second way is using access keys, and that will log you into your CLI, your SDKs, your APIs, etc. And IAM users are granted policies that are attached directly to the user or to the group. Users and roles have Amazon resource names, which are ARNs, and that makes them real identities because you can reference those in other areas in AWS, but groups aren't considered real identities because you cannot use groups to access other resources, and you can't log in as a group, but you can attach policies directly to the group. So under Services in the console, and then under Security and Identity Compliance, we'll click on IAM. And then on the left-hand side under Users, we're going to click up here, Add User. So we'll call this Test User. And so these are the long-term credentials I was talking about just a few minutes ago. You have your programmatic, which allows you to use your access keys to log into the CLI or the APIs, SDKs, and then your AWS Management Console, which gives you log in using your username and password. So you can decide as you're adding people in your environment what type of access they need. You want to always choose an IAM, and really in all areas, the principle of least privilege. So you want people and users to only have the access to the things that they need. You don't want to have the access wide open to things that they don't need because it just makes everything, not secure. So our next thing is the choice of your console password. So you can have your password generated for you, or you can add a custom password, and then you also have the option to have the user reset their password at the next time they sign in. And since we're doing this as a test user, it's not for me personally, we're going to leave it auto-generated and then have the user reset their password. So next we are on the permissions page. And so on this page, you can actually go ahead and add a user to a group if you've already defined a group. You can copy permissions from an existing user. You can attach existing policies. You can actually create a group here. We're going to leave everything super simple, and these are the groups that are already created in the environment. But we're just going to click on Next. We'll go back in later and do all of this. We're going to add name. I so believe in adding tags for everything, just because it helps keep your environment organized. And when you look at your environment and it is tagged, you can see what exactly it is that you're looking at. So we're just going to call this test user. We're going to click on review. So this is your review page. It shows you all the choices you've made so far. And then we're going to click on create user. Now this page is so important. You want to make sure that you download this page because this is the only time you're going to see your password and your secret access key ID. You will not see this at another time. If you lose it or if you don't have access to this key, you're not going to be able to log into the AWS using the CLI, the SDKs, or the APIs. So we're going to click close. And now we see that we have our new test user. So let's go in and create a group for this user. So we're going to go back to the left-hand side and click on Groups. We're going to click on Create New Group. We're just going to call this Test Group. Click Next Step. At this point, you can attach the policy that you think the groups are going to need. So one really helpful thing about IAM is if you have a group of developers that all need the same access, then you can add different policies to the developers group and then just put the developers in the group. And that way you don't have to go in and add each developer and give each developer the permissions that they need. You can just add them to the group that already has the permissions needed for the developers. You can have groups for whatever you need. And then you have your review page where you show test group and then the policies that are attached, so the permissions that this group is going to have. Click create. And now we see we have our test group that we just created. So if we go back to our users, click on test user, we can click on groups and click add user to group, and then you can select the group and you can select as many groups as you want. Here, add groups, and now we have our new test user. This is your ARN, your Amazon resource name, and the group that it is in. Now let's look at roles. So if we click back on the left-hand side at roles, we're going to click on create role. And on this page, you're going to see you have several choices. So you need to decide what this role is going to be used for. If it's going to be used for an AWS service, for another account, you're going to need the account ID. For web identity, you're going to need the identity provider. And then you have options for SAML as well. Let's keep it simple. We're going to stick with AWS service. We're going to choose EC2. We'll add this rule to our WordPress site that's hosted on an EC2 instance. Click permissions. And then here, so we add what type of permissions we want this role to have. So you can click, let's just click these two. You can click whatever policies you need. Add tags, rename, we'll just say new role EC2. You probably want to give it a better name than that. So role name, new role, EC2. And then this tells you what the role is going to do in your description, shows you the policies that you chose to attach to it, and click create role. And then you see down here, this is the new role that we created. All right, let's take just a quick look into policies since we're right here. So under policies, you can either select a policy, you can attach it, or you can create your own policy using the visual editor. The visual editor, if you're not great in JSON, it just helps you create the policy. Or you can click on the JSON tab and you can cut and paste, or you can write your own JSON policy in there. And policies, you can go really in depth with those. Let's also look at the account settings. So click on account settings. So remember, since IAM is a global service, by default, there's no strong password policy for your account. So under account settings, where we are now, you can actually add password policies to make your password stronger and to better protect your environment. So you can require upper or lower. You can require at least one number. You can allow users to change their own password. You can enable however many days you want this password to be good for. You can prevent users from reusing their password. And then you can also select this option, and that will allow you only to change, or the administrator of your environment to change your password. And then another thing I wanted to show you really quick, under Credential Report, you can download this report, and it shows you all your users in your environment and what permissions they have. So this is a great tool so that you can go in periodically and make sure that you're practicing the principle of least privilege, and make sure that there's not users in your environment or roles, etc., that have more permissions than they actually need. So if we go back to dashboard, click on users. I'm going to show you really quick how to delete a user. Click on the user you would like to delete, and then click delete user. It's going to ask you to confirm, do you wish to delete this particular user? We're going to say yes. And then now that user is deleted. So you can see IAM has so much, and it is a huge part of the Solutions Architect exam. So it's really great to go in there and practice creating roles, creating policies, creating users and groups, putting those users in the groups and attaching different policies. It's really important. It's a big, huge part. And even in the work environment, not just in the exam environment, you're going to really need to know IAM. So that's it. Thanks for coming by. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.